People call me Knowa Lazarus, but then we always say of Q York because we're a group. So Q York is a group, which is me and FIBA, and we're both originally from Queens, New York. So I am one half of that group, or we call it the super duo music group, Q York.
We hear of people moving here from the Philippines, but not very many moving from here to the Philippines. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, it started off as music, but I also think, you know, if I really look back now, it's also, you know, like Jose Rizal said, you'll never reach your destination if you don't know where you came from. So I think a big part of that too is getting to know your roots and getting to know your culture, because I think I had a lot of questions. You know, I love music and basketball, and I used to think, being here, like, something's wrong with me. How come I'm not like my cousins, or I'm not like the rest of my family, you know, going to more traditional fields. So it's kind of like a gift and a curse, right? But then when you went back to the Philippines, when I went back, it's like everything made sense now. Oh, we love basketball. There's people playing basketball with no shoes in the street. There's music everywhere, whether it be in the malls, the bar, everywhere you go, you hear music, the jeepneys. That was also part of the journey, the deeper side. And we just took the leap of faith.
It doesn't matter where you from. This is the game we love.
Because we were just kind of like, hey, if we can't make it in the Philippines or in our motherland, then maybe we should, you know, stop doing this.
Right.
You know, maybe it's not for us. So, but you know, things kind of worked out.
How did your parents take your news that you were born and raised in Queens, New York, now moving back to the Philippines?
I mean, I think there's a lot of questions. They're like, oh, you're crazy. Why are you going back there? Like, kind of, we left the Philippines because of the struggles we went through. It's kind of like, why are you going back there? And it's like, I'm just going to try it, because I was always like, you know, if I don't try now, then, you know, you're always going to have that what if. I think it was also a situation for us. It's like when that's all you have, right? There's no plan B. You're kind of forced
to make it work.
To make it work. And I think maybe that was, you know, part of that growth as well too. So, of course now, you know, my family gets it, and they understand, and they're like, you know, and I'd like to say, yeah, you know, they're proud of me, and you know, I'm blessed to have their support. Right. It wasn't easy.
You're still an immigrant, just switched, right? Immigrant from the U.S. moving to the Philippines. What were some of the struggles?
Well, some of the struggles going back to the Philippines, of course, number one, I didn't speak any Tagalog. So that's yung pinakamahirap when I went back. Kasi I don't know the culture, you don't know, you're basically like a visitor in your own motherland. So of course, getting charged double, or maybe even triple, just the way you have to do things, then how you have to move. And you know, there's a lot of things, I mean, especially then, let's say with us being hip hop artists and the community, of course, there was, like in the beginning, kapag magsimula, like people, like let's say the local scene there, they're kind of like, oh, these Philms trying to come here to take over. Like that's their, you know, and it's understandable as well too. Like there's kind of like that struggle there. So for us, it was kind of like we had to just keep showing up to the events, keep showing up. Like, yo, we're not doing this to try to take over. We're just trying to, you know, learn our culture. And then eventually, you know, same thing. It kind of, you know, people got used to us, and they're like, okay, they're cool.
Right.
So I think those were a lot of things. I mean, of course, there was challenges, but then on the other note too, we were very blessed, you know, going back, because I think, you know, growing up in New York and also coming to LA and experiencing like the lifestyle here, I feel like those two things combined gave us the resolve needed to be able to do our thing, you know, in the Philippines.
Hip hop in Manila, Philippines, versus hip hop here. Is there a difference? What are the differences, if any?
Of course, I would say the biggest difference is language, right? Of course, Tagalog, English. But, I mean, I think hip-hop here in America, I love hip-hop. I mean, I was born and raised, you know, in the golden era of hip-hop. But I think, for me, hip-hop here is a little more business now, which is a good thing because there's money to be made. But of course, it's more commercialized, where hip hop is pop music now in America. Where if I go to I feel like in the Philippines, hip hop still has that underground kind of feel. But the music and the quality is definitely elevating in the Philippines. And I feel like, you know, within the Philippines and just Filipinos globally, you know, we're world class in terms of our talent and performance. So we just have to embrace it.
What kind of difference can one man make? Inspired by Malcolm, Bruce, Chavez, and Jose Rizal. Mandirigmas, we warriors. Went from being a victim to victorious. Gugong Bayani, every tat on my body means something. I'm descended from a Harlequin society.
It's a roller coaster ride because we were blessed. As soon as we got to the Philippines, we already had a record that was on the radio that charted like for a few months, and then we had our song Mainit with Philippine All-Stars. This was fresh off their World Hip Hop Dance Championship in 2009, and everything, you know, it was so fast. It was like we just took off as soon as we got there. So we were performing like on ASAP, on all the big shows. You know, our song was everywhere. But I think at the same note, we also learned lessons. So we started really high, and then maybe even me, I was, you know, younger. So I was kind of like just living in the moment, like, oh, this is gonna last forever. We made it, you know, and maybe we didn't take care of our business properly. So it ended up to the point where, let's say after a few years, you know, also I became a father, right? I had a daughter, and then, you know, just things happen, and basically what happened is went broke again. I brought my daughter back to the U.S. and I went back again in 2013. I brought my daughter here to the U.S. around there, and I went back with, this is the second time, like almost the second restart. I went back with $200 in my pocket because I just brought everybody here, and I was just staying in a friend's spare room. But I was like, I'm gonna finish it, but it was weird because, you know, our songs are on the radio. But like, you know, due to maybe some business decisions we made in terms of management, etc., I wasn't earning anymore. So I ended up becoming an English teacher for 2 years. And, you know, we stuck at it. Big shout outs to JR, Homeworks Music, because he kind of took us in and he said, hey, I'm gonna take care of your album. I have a record label. And then that's when I started becoming a songwriter, where now I had a songwriting contract. So I started, they're like, you know, you're good as a rapper, but I think if you can learn, because, you know, your lyrics are always good, if you can learn how to write different kinds of songs, we can help you get work. Through that, we were able to meet, like, you know, work with Yen Constantino, Ogie Alcacid, who else? Elmo Magalona of 3x3 basketball tournament, you know, by FIBA. Would you be down to MC and DJ? We're like, yeah, sure. And next thing you know, we're there in Robinson's Place, Manila. And they also had a celebrity game, which, by the way, me, JR, and Flay, we won. But anyways, that was like our little, you know, accomplishment. But anyways, we ended up MCing and DJing, and it was like one of those moments in life where everything makes sense. Where it's like, because for me, I was almost kind of like a frustrated basketball player, because I was like, I played basketball longer than I made music. But, you know, I've never made any money off of basketball, all the knowledge I have and everything, and they just gave us the mic, or gave me the mic and said, all right, these are the rules. They gave me no script, they just gave me a few index cards. These are just fillers, whatever. It's yours. So it kind of brought me back to being that kid from Queens, New York, where it's like basketball, music, hip hop, and I'm able to connect with everybody. So, and that kind of gave us the freedom now where we're like, you know, we're just gonna make the music we want to make. Forget about everything else. I mean, you know, and ever since then, you know, since 2014, yeah, we've been MCing and DJing, you know, with FIBA 3x3.
That's awesome. So many lessons to learn from what you've done, right?
Yeah.
I guess the first one is talk to the people, because it's not just you. There's some millennials, younger ones as well, who were born and raised here in America, different parts, wanting to go back to the Philippines. What would be your top 3 advice for them?
I think you have to really go back, like, to want to connect, and you have to be open. Then number 2, I think is, learn your history. Like, you know, like for me, like I was able to go to Davao. I found out like my dad has like 10 brothers and sisters, like so many siblings. There's a huge family there, and like, you know, those are genuine things. Like when you learn more about yourself and you learn more about your culture, it's like, you know, the more you know yourself, the more I think you can help others. The last one is be ready to eat at least 1 balot.
What would be your advice to other maybe struggling artists out there who have yet to see their break?
Go for your dreams and go for your passion, but then you also have to have that balance in the present, right? So it's like you can't build a future without your present being secure. I mean, one thing I've always gone by is don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Like, don't be afraid, like, you're gonna be scared and you're gonna be like, what am I doing? There's gonna be times, I mean, I looked in the mirror, I'm like, yo, am I crazy? Is there something wrong with me? Because why am I the only one who sees this? And a lot of times for me, I feel like whenever I've been at those breaking point moments, that's when the breakthrough happens.
And you're embracing living the life now with being host of 3x3,
Yes.
Doing your music still.
Yes.
What's next? What's on the horizon? What else?
Well, what's next, you know, for Knowa Lazarus and for New York is we're now establishing our own label. So we're in the process of filing all the papers for that. So we're looking at developing and, you know, songwriting for more artists. Of course, we're going to keep on releasing, you know, music. We're looking now, exploring, or actually producing content already for the metaverse. So we're partnering with you know, this company 4D Fun, and we're going to be creating like NFTs for basically, you know, future-proofing our music. So basically, once Apple starts releasing, or Apple or whatever company start releasing their VR goggles or glasses and augmented reality, we're going to have our own avatars on there with our performances. Continue doing, you know, 3x3 basketball. You know, Sana, I'm praying for it. I'll also be at the Paris Olympics, hosting 2024. And I guess the big project for me, which has been like 4 or 5 years in the making still, is a film. So working on writing a script now to, you know, to hopefully that'll be another way to inspire others through storytelling by, you know, because I feel like as Filipinos or just as Asian Americans, it's time for us to tell our stories. You know, and I feel like the more that we tell our stories, the more we'll be able to build bridges, you know, to each other globally.
Love that.
Yeah.
So if you were to summarize everything that you've been through in life in one word, what would be your word?
Oh, wow. Resilient.